Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to this program. Tonight, we'd like to deal with the issue of why CCC is adamant that they are going to win the elections. They are hell-bent on participating in these elections. And they are convinced they're going to win them. This is what is making it so difficult to have any meaningful dialogue with CCC. We'd like to start with a video where Chamisa himself is claiming that they are winning these elections. Just listen to this.
Kukawa jeri uri ambudza waifunga kuti waita utsinyezo wandipa speed ikatoti akumberi hatigone hatichabatikisa hatidyike hatikundike uye hauzogoni kutidonhedzera pasi hatirigike zvawakaita 2018 uroyi ukandiroya kamwe chete aiwa imhosva yako asi ukandiroya kaviri mhosva yangu nokuti ndatadza sei kubata uroyi hwako gore rino takatarisana mukoma munangagwa handisi kuzobvuma zvechitsotsi handisi kuzobvuma we will not accept nonsense handisi kuzobvuma izvozvo.
There we have it. Welcome, Benjamin. What do you think?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. Good day to all our viewers. You're welcome to the program. I think I've heard this before, probably before 2018 and years back, but probably somebody else was saying. So, well, it's not a new claim. Basically, it's been a claim for a number of years now through the process, going through these elections. Where I'm going to win big this time around. You beat me the last time, once beaten, twice shy. But then we all know that it's just all back and no bite. And come on the 24th, you won't find these guys wanting to go and do the fighting. They'll rather have you go and do the fighting on their behalf. And then so goes the story, and it becomes a vicious cycle, year in, year out. When once elections are approaching, this is what we always do. So for me, really, it's nothing new. I don't know. Do you buy into this story?
Well, I think this is what is so disappointing about having discussions with people like CCC. They consistently refuse to accept reality. Let's face it, you and me would say you can stop Zanu PF rigging the elections by implementing the democratic reforms. Let's make sure that the ZEC does its own, is the work it's supposed to do. The police do their work. But you can only get those institutions to get back to doing their work by implementing the reforms. I mean, this is not rocket science, and yet not even one meaningful reform has been implemented. Not even one. And yet we are being told this time we are going to win big. The violence is rampant. It's getting worse and worse. Today alone, I have seen at least 5 different stories of Zanu PF corruption and cheating and harassment and so forth. And how you can still continue to maintain that you will still win big. I don't get it. We can go through some of the things that Chamisa himself claims that they've learned. They don't need reforms because they've got some other ways of making sure that they win the elections. I don't know whether you'd want to start with the first one there, that we are going to vote in numbers.
Okay, thank you. So this was one of the strategies that Triple C had come up with. I think it was one of the first strategies that they had come up with, and on paper it sounded, very logical to say, try and flood the elections with, or mob the elections with people, and everybody just tries and vote, such that if they try and rig these elections, they will be so overwhelmed with the numbers that Triple C has that it will be actually impossible to rig. But then I think you and I know. So for the sake of our viewers, we are going to tell them that this is not really a success in terms of mass registration, because according to the statistics that were produced by ZEC, the voter registration turnout was not very appealing. Triple C had a target of 6 million voters, and of the 6 million, I think it was just over 250,000 that actually went and registered to vote, and this was by I think May of this year. And this whole process of them claiming to vote in numbers, they started this campaign 4 years ago. So if 4 years back they started, and they have just recently gotten just over 250, I would probably say that this strategy is not going to hold water, because voter registration is already closed as well. So I think I would put it as, for if you wanted 6 million and you get 250,000, then that is an epic failure for me.
Well, it is, that number actually it was as of 30th of May last year. So since then, ZEC has had a big number of influx of voters coming in and so forth. But as a rule, Zanu PF tends to register its members towards the end, in the dying months. And there's a strategy in that, because Zanu PF tends to double register its voters. So you can vote several times. And the way they achieve that is by registering late. You can then say, oh, we didn't have time for you to get on the voters roll. So even if you produce the voters roll, you'll find their names, their double entries will not be there, because those people who would have been registered late, and they'll say, oh, we didn't have time to enter them. So as a rule, Zanu PF supporters tend to register late. And most of them will not even appear on the voters roll. And the opposition, they are the ones whose voters have got to register early. If you are lucky, you get on the voters roll. And to have registered only 250,000 in the first 4 years clearly shows, in most of the cases, it's not because the voters people did not want to register to vote. But ZEC made it very difficult for them to register to vote. And even if you do manage to register to vote, getting on the voters roll is another hurdle that you've got to jump. So this is the reality. So as for the mass voter registration, followed by mass voting, I agree with you, Ben. That is dead in the water. They failed they only managed to register 4%. So that is dead in the water. The second item is Operation Mango. Do you want to start on that one, Ben?
Oh, okay. So basically, Operation Mango was, because of the violence that happens mainly in the rural areas. Chamisa and company came up with an idea to say, just blend in. And a mango is green outside and it's yellow inside. So we know Zanu PF, their main color is green, and Triple C is orange, right? So they came up with the strategy to say, for our people to be safe, which are Triple C's, in the mass, right? They should appear to be as if they are Zanu PF, but when they get to the ballot box, they know that they are what? They are orange inside, which means they are Triple C inside. So vote Triple C on the day of the election. Now, the problem with this strategy again is that Zanu PF has come up with a counter measure to say they are mainly focusing on building onto the run-up of elections using their cells. So which means that they are getting the numbers and the details of everybody, especially in the rural areas. They're getting their details and their numbers, ID numbers, into their cell books. And that such that when you go to actually vote on the day that on the 23rd, you just don't walk to the polling station and go and just cast your vote. No, you first go through. There will be people that will be manning the police stations, the polling stations, right? So that first thing you have to go and get your name ticked that you are present, and that you went in on, maybe if you went in on the first, then you are written, okay, your name is written, you are the first person to cast a vote. I don't know how they are going to be able to trace it, but I mean, obviously Zanu PF and ZEC would know, and would actually get to know who exactly went and voted for who, and that situation. So people are no longer safe because Zanu PF would know. So if you are claiming that you are Zanu PF and you go and vote for Triple C, you are surely going to go and get caught out, because they will know that you cast a vote on, let's say, maybe 5th, or you are the 7th. And what makes it more difficult now is that ZEC has expanded the number of polling stations. So which means that the number of voters actually going through a particular, that are actually registered in one polling station, have just shrunk. So it's easy to tell who exactly went and voted in which particular polling station. So now that gives away the hope of, hide and seek. You are hiding in plain sight. So I don't think it would work at the end of the day. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think I totally agree with you. This Operation Mango is Triple C has been. In fact, this is not the first time that Triple C have done this. When Tsvangirai was in power, he did the same thing as well, asking his FDC members to get Zanu PF membership cards and so forth. The problem, I totally agree with you, with these elections is that the idea that you can somehow pretend to be Zanu PF and then on the day of voting vote for MDC and get away with it is naive. The number of polling stations have been reduced now to the point where there are only about 500 voters in each polling station, and it's a polling station based the voters roll, and therefore then you cannot go and vote anywhere else. And those 500, particularly in the rural areas, most of those people will be the Zanu PF officials who know them at least by face, not by name. And so if 500, all the 500 voted in a polling station, and for the sake of argument, 400 voted for the opposition, and only 100 voted for Zanu PF. All Zanu PF has got to do is look at the polling station register and their own cell register and say, okay, which one do we think are the 100 who voted with Zanu PF and voted Zanu PF? And who are the other 400 who pretended to be Zanu PF and on the day of voting voted for the opposition? And I think they can, maybe not with 100% certainty, but they can come up with a list with reasonable accuracy, and so and so they will be able to say, okay, so these people are the ones who didn't vote for Zanu PF. So your vote is no longer a secret. So to say Operation Green Mango, is totally meaningless. It's not going to change anything. You cannot, yes, if it was 2008 when people had the option of voting in 10 different polling stations in each constituency, you can always go to a polling station that's far away from your own village where maybe people don't know you that well. And also in the past, they used to have the boxes of the cast votes. They were not counted at the polling stations. They were taken to a central counting station, and they were all emptied on the table, so that although a polling station A had 600 voters or votes were cast, when you put them there, you would know which 600 belong to polling station A. But now you can narrow it down to this polling station. So many people voted, and so many of them voted for the party, and so many people voted for the opposition. So there's the issue of your vote is your secret. Forget it. Forget it. It's all nonsense. It's not valid at all. In fact, there is a video, remember, Ben, of Mnangagwa himself boasting that your vote is traceable. Chisingazikanwi rufu. Vote yako inozikanwa wabva kupi. You remember it?
Oh yes, I do remember it.
So I think that issue of people trying to pretend that your vote is your secret, in Zimbabwe it is not a secret. So to say that you can somehow pretend to be Zanu PF, attend Zanu PF cell meetings, and then on the voting day vote for the opposition and get away with it, that is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. In fact, if it happens, they will know who did not vote for Zanu PF. And I think if you remember the audio we played the other day as part of Zanu PF's plan, it's very clear in that one that they will narrow it down so that if there is a runoff, before the runoff, they would have already narrowed it down who voted for Zanu PF and who did not. And those who did not would be punished. So if you vote for the opposition and Zanu PF wins, you'll get away with it. But if Zanu PF does not win, Mnangagwa does not get the 50% plus one, that's when that system is going to be seriously looked into. And those who did not vote for the party will be punished. And I think this is something that needs to be hammered in. And I think the rural people, this is something that has been explained in these cells. That forget this issue of Operation Green Mangoes. We will know whom you voted for. We will know who we suspect will not vote for Zanu PF. And they will be appropriately punished. I think that point, to me, I can't believe there's still some people there, Ben, who still believe in that nonsense.
No, I think that strategy is dead and buried, given that Zanu PF has actually tightened the grip, especially when it comes to the numbers that are actually going within each polling station, and the fact that they will be having their own agents that will be standing outside the actual polling station, having a register of everybody's name. I mean, look, they actually had access to people's phone numbers, and they were actually texting, sending SMSs to people's numbers. And these numbers are supposed to be a secret. They were not supposed to be given out of the voters, people that are inside the voters' row. So unless somebody gave them those numbers of individual for telephone numbers of every individual that is in the voters' row, that there itself should be a statement to say, they actually have a way to actually trace you, and which is quite scary.
It is. It is. We'll move on to the next one, guarding the votes. This one here is another one of Triple C's arguments that they will have election agents at each of the polling stations, and they will be there to guard the vote. And they are encouraging, of course, the public as well to guard the vote. But on the guarding the vote in terms of the having an election agent, I don't think personally that Triple C has got the money to have election agencies at all the it's now 12,000 polling stations, particularly those in the rural areas. Even during the by-elections, they could not get some of the election agencies in the rural areas. So some of them, you find they were passed from the nearest town to be an election agent. Now, with the harmonized elections, the urban centers will have their own elections now, as well as the rural areas. And with the level of intimidation that we have seen so far, and it's getting worse, I think being an election agent for the opposition is going to be a serious challenge. So there is the issue of the intimidation of the election agents. There is the issue of paying them to be there, and passing them around if they've got to be taken from urban centers to go to the rural areas. So, in the numbers themselves, the big numbers, 12,000 polling stations, ideally you should have at least 4 agents, so that if somebody has got to go and have something to eat, somebody else will be in the room watching. I don't know how many election agencies they are allowed, but at least have somebody as backup. And in this particular case, for Triple C to have all those people, I think it's going to be a serious challenge. I don't know whether you think they are going to have all the election agents yourself, Ben.
Okay, so for me, it's a question to say, the previous election, they said that they were going to go and guard the vote, and it turned out that over 500 polling stations had nobody that was attending on there. And then, it's mind blowing if you're just going to leave such a big number unattended. And then there is a question to say, Triple C has not fielded candidates in some areas. So these areas are definitely going to be left open for rigging or for anyone to do as they please. For me,
Well,
that also
sorry, on that
is
one,
already
just
enough.
a correction there, Ben. In this particular case, even if you fail to appoint a councillor in a ward, yeah, they fielded all the 210 parliamentary seats because it's a harmonized election. That means the election, the voting will be not only just for the councillors, but will be for the members of parliament and the presidential. You can still have your election agent there, even if you're not contesting in the race for the council. Sorry, you can continue.
Oh yes, thank you for the correction. But I still firmly believe that they will not be able to cover all areas of all the 12,000 plus polling stations that are available for taking in voters on that day of election on the 23rd. So, and there's also, like you said, the issue of the monies. Who is going to foot the bill? Because we all know CCC have no other means of actually financing their endeavors. So it's also going to be very, very questionable. Then we go to the part of voter intimidation, especially in the rural areas. I think they have a better chance you don't even need, I don't think they actually need to pay anybody in towns. Maybe the town folk will do it for free. But when it comes to rural areas, my main worry is the violence that is there, the intimidation that is going on at this very moment. It's very worrying, because I mean we have been playing an audio of a certain gentleman that is already threatening to say that it's better to die than to be caught that you voted for the opposition. Now, this is just only voting. Now, imagine you're going to be one of the security agents for the opposition. I don't think it's going to be well with you. So, with that, I don't think people are going to be eager. They will be, hopefully, but people are not going to be eager, because already right now, just because you are associated with the party, this time it's not yet really open, right? Because if you're going to be a security agent for CCC, it will be out in the open. Right now it's not even really out in the open, and they are already burning CCC, suspected CCC members' homes. They're burning their clothes, they're beating them up, they're having to run away for dear life. So it's going to be very difficult. I for this one here, I can see the wheels coming off.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Ben. I think the last item we've covered it already, but we can still mention it. This issue of, I think CCC is counting on people staging a post-election protest. We are not going to accept rigging. This again is actually a misplaced argument. If you participate in an election process, knowing fully well that it is flawed, and this is again, Ben, I find it laughable that some of the CCC members are complaining that Zanu PF is disrupting our rallies, is intimidating our people, and so forth. But this is part and parcel, as if to say Zanu PF, they didn't expect them to do that. That is what you expect them to do, exactly, because that is part and parcel of the rigging. The police are disrupting our rallies. That is again part and parcel of the rigging, because the police is not apolitical. That's why you needed the reforms. And you are the one who was saying, we don't need the reforms, we can still win rigged elections. So this is one of the funny part of it. Once you participate and the election is rigged, to think that you're going to stop Zanu PF getting into power by staging public protests is totally ill-advised. Because once you've given the regime legitimacy, the regime has the authority to use force, if necessary, to keep law and order. And that is the argument they'll be using. Yes, in this case here, they also have got the tendency of using excessive force. But that is what you expect. This is a tyrannical regime. And I honestly think with the idea that they can somehow change government, having failed to change it through the ballot, they're going to change it by street protests, is the most ridiculous argument and dangerous argument that I've ever heard. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, history as a way of just making it easier for us to explain. Let's look at past events. Every time when we have taken to the streets because we have not agreed to these results and we are claiming that they have been rigged, it has ended badly for those that go. So for me, I don't think it holds any benefit, because I mean, for the past 20 plus years, 23 years, people have been protesting exactly the day after the elections, and nobody has even really bothered about it, because I mean, all the other countries are telling you that, you know, this environment is not conducive. There's no democratic space in Zimbabwe right now. And they themselves, CCC, are complaining that there is no democratic space. But what is mind-blowing is that they will still go on, and some are still determined to say, let us participate and do the same thing that they have been doing for over 23, and nobody has been listening. That is one strategy that they continuously use. I mean, if you have been using a strategy for 4 times, and within those 4 times, there is absolutely not even a day that you have been heard, that definitely means that strategy should be rubbed off completely and look for other strategies. So this one, I would personally say, post-election protest, let's get rid of it completely, because we're just going to get innocent people killed for nothing.
I totally agree with you there, Ben. I think we'll just close with listening to Chamisa's claim that they are not going to allow these elections to be rigged. And then we can give our closing remarks.
Ikatoti akumberi hatigone hatichabatikisa hatidyike hatikundike uye hauzogoni kutidonhedzera pasi hatirigike zvawakaita 2018 uroyi ukandiroya kamwe chete aiwa imhosva yako, asi ukandiroya kaviri mhosva yangu, nokuti ndatadza sei kubata uroyi hwako. Gore rino takatarisana mukoma munangagwa, handisi kuzobvuma zvechitsotsi, handisi kuzobvuma. We will not accept nonsense. Handisi kuzobvuma izvozvo.
There we have it. Handisi kuzobvuma. I think this is the degree of naivety that I find hilarious in this as well, you know. And when he's saying, "Oh, you cheated me 2018," Zanu PF has been rigging elections since 1980 for 43 years now. and ever since MDC guys joined the political game, Zanu PF has been rigging the elections. So for Chamisa to pretend that somehow when he was Zanu PF was rigging, when Tsvangirai was the leader, it doesn't count. It's ridiculous, But there we are. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe, where the opposition is hell-bent on participating in these elections. They are advised these elections are flawed. You should implement reforms, and they are not paying any attention. In fact, in some cases, they've been claiming the fact that Zanu PF is disrupting their rallies and intimidating their people is a sign that Zanu PF is panicking, as if to say the Zanu PF has never done this before. It's only now they are doing so because they are panicking. This is part and parcel of Zanu PF rigging the elections. And I really find it tragic that 43 years after independence, we can't even hold free, fair, and credible elections. Oh, I despair. Ben, over to you.
Yes, I think you have just about summed up everything. It's very amusing to see, 43 years down the line, and we are still claiming that, we can win these rigged elections, and it's become a vicious cycle of using the poor, the ordinary citizen of Zimbabwe to believe in this nonsense, and at the end of the day, just to have himself, him or her hopes gutted by this. But sometimes I also blame ourselves because we have become so gullible to anybody that just comes with even false hope. It's sad, really. Yeah, you just summed it up, and yeah, I won't say much. And I would like to say also good night to our viewers, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ben. Just to mention that tomorrow we wanted to deal with that very issue of the people themselves, the consequences of the people being so gullible and accepting and participating in these elections, meaningless elections, and continuing with this vicious cycle of rigged elections, participating to give Zanu PF legitimacy and perpetuating the failed state. But that's the subject for tomorrow. So if you can join us, we'll welcome you. Thanks so much, Ben, and good night to everybody.
Thank you. Good night.